Well, welcome to another episode of The Minority Voice, and today I'm here with another special guest, Dr. Becky Behrends. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome, and she's also with the, and I'm going to give the acronym, and you can give the host wording of it. It's the MC4EI.
Correct.
And what is the MC4EI?
That's Michigan Citizens for Election Integrity.
Okay, and for sure we need that, right?
Absolutely.
We need that. So I had your president here before, and now what is your title with the group?
I am the Vice President of Research with our group.
Okay, awesome. So you handle all the collecting of the data?
We do deep dive research into election matters, and specifically we're trying to determine what happened really in the 2020 election.
Okay, but I'm gonna go to the left a little bit here, not left, but right, whatever. But you're a doctor.
Correct.
I want to pass that up because I seen on your bio you're a biochemist or
No, I'm a retired emergency physician.
But your degree?
My degree was in microbiology.
Microbiology, okay.
Right.
So that's kind of like you study stuff, right?
Yes.
Real small stuff, right?
Very detailed stuff.
Very detailed stuff.
I'm a detail-oriented person.
Okay, so
yes.
I guess, and I only bring that up because this kind of fits your title,
my background.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
For sure, it does.
So that being said, what have you found? Give me some stuff that
Okay.
people that they haven't heard that you know that was there.
Well, what I did after spending a number of months with our group trying to understand the election process, and mind you, I have had no prior political experience.
Okay, so you're a newbie.
I am a newbie,
Okay.
and on election day, the day after election day, I said, "What happened here?"
Okay.
I was like millions of
About 70
Americans.
million other Americans said, "What happened here?"
Very
Okay.
upset, and I decided I have sat on the sidelines way too long, busy in the practice of medicine. It's time to get involved, and that's when I contacted the Oakland County Republican Party and said, I need to get into election integrity. So after spending some months studying subjects, when the McBroom report came out, I decided to write a rebuttal of that.
Okay.
So I wrote a 27-page report.
Oh, 27 page?
Yeah, just
You know
small
what?
little report.
Mine would have been 1 page, 1 line, 1 word. Bullshit. Okay, but
Yeah.
I digress. Go ahead.
Ditto on that, I think. So their
I'm gonna throw another little
conclusion.
thing in there. Sorry, I got to do this. My state senator was on that board, on that committee, on that bullshit, and a lot of ties. Yeah. So I'm not a fan of her. Everybody knows. But anyways, I digress.
My condolences.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But they concluded there was no widespread fraud, and that the result of the election in Michigan was accurate, and we don't need a forensic audit, was their conclusion. So in my report, I decided to look at what they said and what they did not say or do. Okay. What they said was obviously biased, inaccurate, illogical. They didn't understand how election procedures should be properly investigated. They gave no source material, no links, no references. And what they did not say or do was really examine the affidavits and the eyewitness testimony, of which there's an abundance from the GOP side of the aisle. And they didn't even engage in any in-person testimony with key individuals, key experts. They didn't put any muscle into the subpoena power. And this is what dramatically caught our attention and concerned us with this report. Major problems in the election, which I pointed out in the report. Most egregious was the security breaches and the lack of chain of custody. And so as
No, you know what? Most people don't know what chain of custody is. So if you could, explain what chain of custody is, because I hear a lot of people throw that out, chain of custody, and it's like, and I know what it is, but I look around the room and there's like people, what's chain of custody? Explain what chain of custody is.
I would add that in the McBroom report, they said it was high-sounding language that is used in court cases, and it really didn't relate to anything relevant here. Well, chain of custody means when I vote, or let's say from the time that I register to vote and then cast a ballot, that there is, in a sense, tracking of that ballot or an assurance that it's secure from the time that I cast that vote to when the Board of Canvassers meets to certify an election. That every step along the way, I know that my ballot is secure. It didn't get diluted out by illegal ballots, that it wasn't discarded or dropped. That's chain of custody.
Right. So basically, it's kind of a, I don't know if maybe roadmap is not the right way, but there is a process, step by step, that is guarded.
Correct.
And there's accountability at each step of the way, that you know there's no foul play. Unlike a drop box for a ballot and who picks it up, right? That leads to questions about chain of custody and coming in with or when you seen down in Georgia when they send everybody out of the room, then under the table they pull out these suitcases. Okay.
Exactly.
But I digress again.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Exactly.
Go with the broom.
So, there were election laws violated as well as security breaches. And in my mind, there should be full stop when that happens. With no security, how do you trust the accuracy of the result? I've had to take exams, medical board exams. If we as physicians taking exams and we take them under very secure conditions, and there's a lot of security in the way that they have us register and take these exams. If I were to cheat, I'd be done. Exam over. I'd be expelled, right? Didn't matter that I did well on most all of the questions on the exam. If I did one thing wrong, I'd be expelled. If I'm in the operating room and sterility is breached, you'd have to deglove, leave the operating room, and go and re-scrub and stop the procedure. These are security measures. Why is it we can't have a higher level of security in our elections? A forensic audit is needed because of this lack of security and the breach of violation of law. Now, the problem with the McBroom and his committee, they don't seem to understand the difference between illegality and fraud. How much fraudulent votes does it take to get their attention or the attention of the legislatures? 10,000 votes? 140,000 votes? Biden supposedly won by 150,000 plus votes in Michigan. Does that mean if we discovered 150,000 fraudulent votes, it doesn't matter, it wasn't enough to overcome the election? Why, besides fraud, is illegality not an issue that should raise the hackles of every legislator and law enforcement people in Michigan? That's our contention.
Now, let me ask you this. When you did this 26 pages, right?
27 pages.
27 pages. Now, did you submit that to McBroom's committee?
We're in the process of preparing to submit that to him.
Okay, so
yes.
he hasn't seen the...
He hasn't seen
He hasn't seen it. Okay, so when you do submit that to them, please let me know what Lana Tice says about that. And,
be happy to.
Yes, please. And if you'd like, I could actually deliver it to her office. No, I won't do that. No, that's
That would even be better.
Yes.
That would even be better. Can you imagine the IRS not investigating me if I should say, well, I didn't intend to not pay my taxes? Trust but verify. That's our contention. That sort of mindset needs to be over every election. And so what went wrong in the 2020 election? A whole host of things, particularly at TCF Center in Detroit. Ballot harvesting, double counted votes, unattended ballots in ballot boxes, middle of the night ballot dumps, illegal ballots being counted with no signature verification, no matching of the barcode numbers, fraudulent names being added to the electronic poll book, which is just basically backfilling, harassment, bullying, obstruction of the GOP challengers.
So now, I mentioned to Joe when he was here that there was some 200 plus affidavits that were presented. Now, the court said that they didn't have any standing. So I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. Is this just sour grapes?
Well, it just it's an egregious lack of having read any of them. I doubt that they read any of them. They're incredibly detailed by a lot of very competent, highly educated
agree
people.
with you. Yes, I do.
I don't think they even read them.
Okay, all right. So let me ask you this: your group have you been able to get some support from Lansing? Have you found any allies who that are elected officials that want to get behind your group or beside your group?
Well, one of the things we want to accomplish with our group, on our website, we have a page that's called a Learning Center page. And,
Okay.
and in that area of the website, we have a Meet and Teach section. The idea is we want to engage the public, the conservative grassroots activists, to meet with their legislators and teach them. We think there's a woeful lack of knowledge. It may be intentional. They don't want to know what they don't want to know.
It's a lot easier
Yes.
to be ignorant.
They don't have to be accountable for what they're now being presented with. So we want to engage citizens to meet personally with their state representatives and senators and present a lot of the information that we've provided on that site to educate them, to teach them. So fellow citizens plus legislators need to be informed of the fact that there were illegalities and fraud, and you can't just dismiss 39 bills suggested for reform in the legislature and say, okay, we've spent too much time on this, let's move forward to the next election. If you had a murder, would you say, we have some concern whoever committed this murder might commit it again, but let's just hope it doesn't happen. You'd go back and fully investigate before moving on, right?
Right. So now, are you encouraging your group to go and testify in front of committees and stuff like that?
We haven't gotten to that point. We understand that PEAM with Patrice Johnson is doing a lot, and they're doing a lot of very good work in that direction. And I've gone up a few times to piggyback on with what Patrice is doing for legislative projects. But we haven't, that's not what really our focus is. Okay. Our focus is to encourage individual meetings with legislators.
And the only reason I say that because I would tell you, I've been to so many coffees, lunches with elected officials. Oh, they love nothing more than going to coffee with you, sitting down and chit chat and listening to your concerns and feeling your pain and going to see what they're going to do for you, and they'll look into it. And and matter of fact, you text them or you call them and they respond. Oh, that's great. And then I think sometimes they do that in hopes that they'll get a nice little donation from you, $50, $100, whatever. But when you sit down in a committee and you're testifying before them and you ask them a direct question that's on the record and ask them why and ask them what are they going to do, it really kind of puts them on the spot. And they don't like that.
It's true.
I'm privy to a situation where somebody was dealing with an issue, and I don't want to say too much about it, but outside of the fact that this individual wanted to meet with the elected official and had their presentation, and this elected official said, well, send it to me so I can have it. And then this elected official canceled the meeting and then said, we'll talk on the phone. And then when the phone conversation came, she had her bullet points and she just, went through the talking points, the bullet points, and nothing got accomplished. And my friend realized she got played. So, but anyways, that being said, so I'd encourage that.
We're aware that there's that mountain that we have to overcome of resistance, but we somewhat believe in incorporating the tactics of the left, which has been to swarm.
That's it.
To swarm people, to swarm offices, corporate boards of America, legislators, and keep the pressure on and have multiple groups just keep at it. And we believe that will produce a result. And one of the articles, I've written 4 articles that were published in American Thinker, And
yes, you've had some articles.
yes,
Okay, yeah.
and written about different subjects, but one of them, the most recent one, was called "Hey Rhinos, How's This Working for You?" Because I've found that when I talk to my neighbors and my friends who are conservative, they don't clearly understand the difference of what the Trump administration accomplished and what is happening with the Biden administration now. They've almost reached sometimes the notion that, well, maybe Trump was a divisive figure, maybe we need to move on to something else, and they don't know the issues. So I identified 3 issues that I thought they need to consider: energy independence, critical race theory, the situation at the southern border. And I said, how's this working for you? To compare what the Trump administration did and what the results are we're seeing with Biden, which are, I mean, his approval rate is tanked with how he's handling things.
Just go to the nearest gas station. That should speak volumes.
Yes.
You know, I was paying $50 for a tank of gas. Now I'm going to probably hit $100 in the very near future. That speaks volumes. So, yeah, people know. You know,
because I said elections have consequences. This is the consequence. And for people who will label as rhinos, if it wasn't important enough for you to stand for your own party, look what you've opened the door to. Look what we're experiencing now. And does that not upset you? You should feel a sense of outrage over that. Good. And so that's the kind of pressure we want to put.
Good. Now, is your group, I know Joe mentioned that he's a part of the Oakland County Republican Party, but this organization's not. Is your group based in, or I should say, mainly in Oakland County, or are you growing outside of the county lines?
We are growing outside of the county lines. We welcome anyone to participate with us in the state of Michigan or even outside of the state of Michigan. I have friends in Utah that are interested in what we're doing and follow along with our website. And so these.
Speaking of that, give them your website information again and
Okay.
how to contact you.
Michigan Citizens for Election Integrity, MC4, the number 4, EI.com.
Awesome. So what would you say is your number one, for you personally, to priority to see happen with all your labor?
Well, one of my articles I quoted Ben Franklin, who said, "Justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are." We need to get a sense of outrage in our citizenry about these issues, and it's particularly within our legislative branch. And we believe that there's more pressure that yet needs to be exerted to make these things happen. We're not going to go away. I don't think there's any statute of limitation on addressing fraud and election violations of law. And we believe that so many people just don't even know the extent to which these things were violated or which security was breached. And we're going to stay on it until we get them to understand that.
I don't know if you know this, but that in September of 2022, they are permitted to wipe 2020 clean. So,
that's why there's a sense of urgency.
Okay, good, because
yes.
You know, things don't stay in the archives, if you will.
Right.
And you know, I got to believe both sides of the aisle are longing for September 2022 to get here, so they can delete everything, and everyone in Lansing can breathe a sigh of relief. So.
Well, we realize that may happen, and we're going to put a big push on, you know, in the next 6-7 months to make sure that doesn't happen. But there will be hopefully a sense of shame or egg on their face if they allow that to happen and brush aside, because we're not going to fix things in the future if we don't get it right now.
And you know what? I believe if you get your message out to people and they educate themselves on it, and when they see the whitewash, if it happens, then, you know, at least their eyes will begin to be open. And then maybe when it comes time for the next ballot box, things will be different.
A lot of eyes have been opened in the last year with the COVID situation. A lot of parents have been mobilized about issues that concern them, and we believe there was enough information out there that the 74 million Americans become aware of, that will be a a critical force going forward and moving us in a better direction. We believe that.
Yeah, I think COVID has activated a large portion of the population to say, okay, enough is enough for myriad of reasons. And I think, you know, we're gonna see a whole new group, and we are seeing a whole new group of people step up, ready to be in the fight.
There's a lot of younger ones too.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
And you know, our message to them is let's not let the legitimate voters vote be discarded or diluted.
Yeah.
This is you talk about voter suppression. Let's stop suppressing the votes of legitimate voters.
Awesome. Well, Becky, it was a pleasure having you here. Love to have you back. And if you ever have, like I told Joe, if you ever have any information you want me to share to put out there, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. And folks, until next time, Joshua 24:15.